Hello and welcome to another Star Trek Online video, and today I'm going to have a look at the legendary Nebula. Now I'm starting off here in the trailer again with the most important thing. How does it look? Okay. Maybe you worry more about performance, but come on, looks are important. So yeah, this would be the Farragut skin. Here, so the first one. Then we have the Magellan one, a bit of an older one. I mean, a Type 3 material doesn't do it any favors if you change this to, let's say, Galaxy or Intrepid or something like that, right? Then the ship or the skin looks a little bit better. But you can see that this has been a bit of an older skin, right? Then we have the Melbourne, that's the new one. I just don't like the nacelles up. Not my cup of tea, let's put it like this. Then we've got obviously the Nebula. The Nebula mirror, which is a nebula with just this yellow up there. We've got the Phoenix, and I don't hate that mission pod, but I think I prefer the regular Nebula one. I feel like the way it's attached here is a little bit, I don't know, not elegant enough. How shall I put this? Then we've got the monitor, which, well, you can see that the mission pod now is sort of launched bay for hangars. Sadly, the Legendary Nebula does not come with a hangar bay, which makes this look a little bit awkward. But if you prefer that look, then and obviously go for it. We've got the Sutherland, then where the mission pod gets a little bit more aggressive here. I'm not sure if those are torpedo launchers. They might be. Then we have the Venture and the Sutherland mirror. Now see, this is something I can get more behind with, although I don't like the stuff here. Now obviously you can mix and match as you wanted. So you could now do this like a nebula here, and then you could also have the nacelles being that from a nebula. And suddenly this looks a lot more reasonable, doesn't it? You could then obviously change the material, and you'd have a pretty decent looking ship here. But I'm gonna go back to the Farragut, which is my favorite. Then I can show off some of the materials here. So you have that. Or shall we? It's like this, so you can see a bit of the nacelle here. So we've got Veteran, we've got Upgrade, we've got Type 8, 7, Type 8B and Type 8, 7A and 7. And then we have Type 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have a Terran Type 2, which is a bit more colorful. And the Sovereign refit Sovereign, and X refit and X, Interpret, Galaxy, and Y. I'm gonna stick this with Galaxy here. You could also change the windows if you wanted to, making them look a little bit different. And Type 2 and Type 1 have different escape pods, different shaped ones. You can see like they are all here quite triangular, but not the usual ones. And I guess it looks interesting, like, and you can see the green and red lights. So that's a cool detail here. But I'm gonna go back to Galaxy. And of course, you can paint it the way you like. I mean, obviously you can't paint everything, but you know, you have the usual patterns here that you can apply, and the top here is essentially like a Galaxy saucer, right? So you might be familiar with how you can paint those. But having taken a look now at the trailer, why don't we go into space? Now here we are in space with our shiny new nebula next to Deep Space Nine. Now as a bonus I can also show you the Baul Vanity Shield, because I happen to have that with me here on this character. And it's, I think, a pretty decent look. But then again, I always have liked the Baul Vanity Shield and the tile material there, so very nice, very nice. But let's finally talk about the ship itself. So this ship has 4 forward weapon slots, 3 back weapon slots, and you have 5 science consoles, 3 tactical, 3 engineering, and 2 universal consoles. You can set this up more weapon focused if you wanted to with 4-3. That's reasonable enough. You can mount dual heavy cannons if you want to. I'm going with dual beam banks in the front because I think beams just fit the Nebula look better. And with the buff to fire at will, you know, beams are not in a bad state right now. I also have the torpedo here with the complete 3-piece because with going beams, right, I can run the torpedo, the dual beam bank, and then the console from Discovery. So equipment-wise here, I have 2 pieces of the Revolutionary set. Those are from an old event, and they are in the mods market. And the reason I'm running those is because the 2-piece set bonus gives me 53.7% exotic damage crit severity, which is pretty nice on a science ship. Then right now I have the deteriorating deflector. The deteriorating deflector tends to do more damage than the inhibiting one, but you do need to slot some abilities to trigger them. The advantage of the inhibiting deflector is that the uncon triggers also trigger a deflector, and you probably run a few uncon triggers. But the deteriorating just does more damage, so if you can fit that on your build, that is always a decent option, but both would work perfectly fine, depending on what build exactly you want to run. Now, aside from the 2 revolutionary pieces, I also have 2 discovery pieces for the hull regeneration. It just really helps you stay alive, and I like staying. So in the back, I have the Pavan Omni, because it's just a very good Omni. I have the cutting beam, which does actually still pretty reasonable damage these days. And it has the 2-piece set bonus with the console, and then I'm running an Omni Disruptor Beam. Now, I have chosen to go for Disruptors here because I'm running the Dragon's Blood Flame Reactor console, which gives bonus Disruptor, Fire, Cold, Electrical, Radiation, and Psionic damage. Now, you could choose a different damage type if you wanted to. The set that I'm running here would be also be available in Phaser, and there might be some Phaser consoles or something that you want to run with. Or you could do something like Tetron or so on. I have not used any of the consoles this ship comes with, because, I mean, there are obviously no new consoles here. They are the consoles of the older ships, and I haven't been overly interested in them so far. And this is essentially like a build like this that I've already been using on a different science ship, and that I've liked. So, moving on, I have the exotic particle generator with auxiliary power here as a mod. Now, the mod on there is debatable. Is 5.3 auxiliary power really worth it? You could get one that has additional exotic particle generator, which would be the best, but those are horrendously expensive. Or you could do what's relatively affordable, get one with a Control X mod. And then you have some more pull on your gravity well, which would be rather beneficial. Now, if you're running a set where you split weapon and auxiliary power, though, having a bit more auxiliary power can be nice. I have my power level set to 90 weapons and 80 auxiliary, and once I activate like the custom power routing things here, those will come down. I could also be running an emergency to auxiliary here, just to boost my auxiliary further. Or I could reduce my weapon a bit more, since I'm running emergency power to weapons 3, which maybe I should transfer a little bit more to auxiliary. But overall, like, you can play around here with how you want your power settings on emergency powers. I just like a bit of vulnerability from engines, and the Dragon's Blood Flame Reactor works well with that, so... You know, pros and cons to different settings, I guess. So anyway, then I'm running the Telefic Tier Generator. That is a console you can pick up cheaply, usually in the exchange. It like comes from the Infinity Lockbox. And it's pretty reasonable. The Micro Dark Matter anomaly also comes from the Infinity Lockbox, also something you can pick up in the exchange. Now, the Delphic tier also gives crit severity and 20% bonus exotic damage, which, you know, pretty neat, to be honest. The Dark Matter normally gives a bit of particle gen, hull restoration I don't care that much about, and 3 to all max power, although I'm not entirely sure if that stacks with other max power. The custom power matrix is here because it buffs my weapons, and it also buffs the recharge speed of bridge office abilities. The custom power matrix together with Boimler is all the recharge that I need, honestly, which is pretty nice. Then we have the teleport console from last year's summer event, which helps with recharge of consoles. The fleet power network array, which gives exotic particle gen, maximum aux power, and of course the haste is absolutely insane on this. On any energy weapon build, you definitely want to run this console if you have it. The Proton Raptor module is from another Senstor ship, the Lingen Dyson Destroyer, the 6th one, whose name I keep forgetting, but it's a good console for science. Does some reasonable damage. I have the Cranium Chronophage, another very powerful console. The particle conversion matrix is from the Guardian cruise, I believe. It's from an older ship, and essentially if you're getting shot, you get a buff that gives you more exotic and energy damage. And hey, this ship focuses on energy and exotic damage, so that's pretty neat. Stacks up to 10 times, which would be 100% energy and exotic damage. Now, those two consoles are from the Reputation, the Lorcas and the Assimilated module for the set bonus, and both of them give crit chance and severity. Well, the Lorcas doesn't give crit severity, it gives crit severity via the set bonus, I suppose. It does give weapon power though, and as we've established, I want 2 powers relatively high, and then with the emergency power, I get a little bit of engine power as well. And then I'm running the DPRM, which is a pretty expensive console, but the only pretty expensive console, I guess, that I have on this. So could easily be replaced with the console from the flagship set, which gives resistance and also energy damage, or with anything else. I mean, when it comes to builds like this, you can put there are a lot of science consoles that you could put on. There are a lot of things that you could replace. There is like the Plasma Tornado console, and I don't know the names of all of them, but there are plenty of science consoles that are fun that you could put on there. Could also get rid of like those passive consoles there and put even more spam consoles on and so on. Or get more exotic particle generators, that is up to you. This works perfectly fine for me, and you do you. Now let's have a look at the stations and the abilities that I'm using. I mean, you might have already seen them down here because they're displayed on my UI, on the tray. But this ship comes with a Commander Science Temporal, Lieutenant Commander Science, Lieutenant Tactical, a Universal Lieutenant Commander Miracle Worker, and an Ensign Universal. Now I have used the Universal Lieutenant Commander for an engineer. Now most people don't want engineering on their science, but I personally wanna cycle 2 emergency powers. For one, because there's the crit severity trait where I wanna cycle 2 for that. But it's just, I just like my emergency powers to help keep my powers up. And the only way to get 2 of them on here is to make this an engineer. However, I'm also running a Miracle Worker ability, a Null Pointer Flot, and the reason is this will be an unconventional system trigger. It's not yet, okay? It's not yet, but it has been announced on Discord that they wanna add this to the list, and hopefully soon. I don't think there is a time and date for that yet, but I've already put it on here, and you know, until then, it won't do much. I could move the emergency power to engines down here and then run something else here. Like, for example, I could run eject warp plasma, which is also an uncon trigger. So right now, this would make more sense. This is just like already set up for when it's changed. For now, I guess you could say we could do emergency power to engines 1, and then you would do something like eject warp plot. You could do unstable warp bubble if you wanted to. You could do reverse shield polarity if you want more defense. So, you know, it's not like there is nothing you can do here. Actually, yeah, I would have to do the warp plasma here in the third slot, right? Then I would have to move emergency power to weapons down in the engines. So I could run this until null point of flood becomes an uncon trigger, but hopefully soon. Anyway, moving on. I have in my science, I've got 3 temporal abilities, all of them also uncon triggers. I've got my gravity well 3, I've got the structure analysis and destabilizing resonance, which trigger the secondary deflector. I've also got my tractor beam here, other uncon. And I've got fire at will, better, and torpedo spread for my tactical slot. So this works relatively well. With all the uncon, I can keep spamming my consoles. I can throw around here and debuff with beta. I've got my torp spread for the 1 torpedo that I'm running. So yeah, pretty decent setup here. Now I need to briefly talk about the traits. A very important trait for science is the particle manipulator. This is a trait you get if you have 15 in the science crafting school. So just level your R&D science to 15 and you get this trait. And it gives you crit chance, and it's already based on your exotic particle generator, with 50% crit chance being the maximum. And this is 50% exotic crit chance on top of your normal crit chance. So essentially your exotic abilities will crit all. Like you could get like 100% crit chance if you have a lot of other crit chance. But basically you'll crit a lot, right? And with the 2-piece of the revolutionary set, I get a lot of crit severity, right? I get more crit severity from the 2-piece here with Lorcas, and you know, good times, good times. I also have symbiotic ice, since, you know, it's a beam build. Fragmentation of AI tech is a pretty good one if you are using a lot of control. I mean, it gives control itself, so works well on science builds if you're just using energy weapons. And then I have Boimler, which manages my cooldowns together with the custom power matrix. And I have unconventional systems, which lowers cooldowns, and, you know, I have some other nice things like intelligence, agent attaché. I have harmonic shield linkage, pretty affordable trade usually. I haven't checked the prices in a while. That helps you keep your shields up. That's neat. Now let's have a look at the Starship traits. I'm running an improved gravity well. It's not the most important trait ever, but I have fun with it. It allows you to have gravity well up 100% of the time. And that's just fun. And that's all I need. It won't like boost your damage a lot. It's not critical for any build or anything. Not any build that I'm using. It's just a fun trait, right? I'm running 5 magics because, you know, disruptor and a lot of exotic damage I get from this. It's a trait that would benefit from higher engine power, so it's not the best with a low engine power that I'm running here. So as I said, there would be better traits out there, but, you know, like it does the job. I have Ship of the Line. For this I need my 2 emergency powers. This gives essentially 50% crit severity with the stacks. Then I have the new trait from this ship, Particle Fluction Analysis. And I have to say something about this trait. I'm not gonna keep this up 100% of the time, and I'm still gonna use it, and it's still gonna be good. See, if you use a universal console, you get 1% crit chance and 10% severity for 10 seconds. If I were to use like 6 universal consoles, one after the other, right? The second console would already have 10% more crit severity. The third console would have 20% crit severity. Like, you profit from the earlier stacks that you've built up. Even if you lose all of your stacks after you've rotated through all of your consoles, you still got a lot of additional crit severity for all of the consoles that you fired. you also buff your entire team, and if somebody else in the team also provides stacks, then you might be able to keep up all the stacks all the time. Now, it's amazing if you manage to keep all of the stacks all of the time. That would be 100% crit severity and 10% crit chance, and some more Orcs power. But don't look at this and be like, oh no, I can't keep this up, it's useless. It's not. I mean, it depends on what other traits you have available, but keep in mind that first you're buffing your entire team, not just yourself. That's already pretty great. And then, even if the buff isn't constantly active, there is a lot of buff active a lot of the time, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9 consoles that I'm essentially going to use very often. The 10th console here is a toggle, and you could like toggle stuff on and off to keep this going, but I don't want to bother with that. And I just leave this on. But yeah, if you wanted to, you could spam by like 2 of those and toggle 2 of those on and off all the time just to keep the buff up. I don't bother with that. But just like those 9 consoles, right? If I throw them all out, like the consoles that I throw later in the chain, they will get an immense buff. And even if all of the buff runs out before the consoles are ready again, that's perfectly fine for me. Okay, having said that, I also have the Ruin of My Enemies on here, which is a pretty powerful trait. I have that on an account right unlocked, so I put it on everything. But this would work perfectly fine if you don't have this. I have Breen's Free Fight Wheel, also very expensive trait. It would work perfectly fine without this trait. You could run Entwined Tactical Matrices instead, because this build runs Fire at Will and Widow Spread. So Entwined Tactical Matrices would give you... It requires a little bit more timing on those, but that would work fine. And then there is... how is it called? Emitter something. There's a trait when you get shot, it extends the duration of Fire at Will. You can get 100% up to a Fire at Will with that trait as well if you get shot at. So there are about 3 different options for those, and the other 2 are sensor options. So. And the emergency weapon cycle, very old trait, good on any ship, I suppose, that uses energy weapons. So you know, except for Ruin, nothing too expensive, and Breen, but Breen has good cheap alternatives that do the same job. Anyway, let's shoot some things. Let's do an Elite Argana, as usual. Here we are in our good-looking Nebula. Let's give those Bentons a hand. Probably needed. And Warp Plasma was a bit early. That happens when you spam by everything.
Looks like our fight got them to notice us. Let's go over and ask if their claws might come out of hiding.
Now, you know, we will show them the power of sight.
Keep concentrating fire on individual ships. Separate them and whittle down their numbers. We will
Why did they spawn behind me? Okay, let's use some evasive here to maneuver around a bit. Will I?
Sensors are picking
Will
up
I?
small habitation in some of the asteroids, possibly consistent with multiple temporary hideouts.
That one is a little bit too far away. Although if he gets closer, yeah, he's gonna get pulled in eventually. I'm pulling them out of my weapon axe. I'm a professional pilot, don't worry.
Picked up a tight beam transmission on a new frequency. We're jamming that spectrum of their comms now, but it was probably a call for assistance. I'm taking you with me.
Oh. Already used my gravity mail down there. Well, it's fine. There is plenty of science left for those guys.
That's got to.
And there we go.
We'll send over a pacification party, take the suspect into custody.
So, you know, maybe it's not the best ship out there, but the Nebula is definitely a potent ship. So, I guess my closing words would be... strong ship, wish it would have a hangar bay, but can definitely do energy weapons and science combined pretty well. And it can look good while kicking some butt. And I really like the trait on it, right? The tier 6 trait, so there is that. Of course, the ship is not going to be something that everybody wants, and I understand that people are going to be disappointed who would have liked to see a Nebula either more, even more weapons focused and not be a science ship, or would have liked it to be a carrier or maybe a science ship with a hangar bay. But here we go, it's still a strong ship, and I'm looking forward to the Miracle Rocket changes. So, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.